Welcome to the 30-minute acrylic portrait where we paint an alla prima acrylic portrait real time in about a half an hour. So glad you're here, and I'm excited for this portrait today. It's of a beautiful young lady with some really interesting light on her face, kind of more of a diffuse lighting than what we usually do. Usually we're doing something with a very strong sense of contrast, but this is going to be nice. This is going to give us just a really good sense of being able to capture gradation. So I'm going to zoom in here and show you this portrait here we'll be working from. And again, I want to credit Ray Comfort from Living Waters Ministries for making these images available that I can paint from. So this is going to be a nice one today. Now, if this is your first time watching the 30-minute acrylic portrait, what we do here is we just try to paint something that takes a little less time, a little less preparation, and this is more or less a painting exercise, or we're doing a study possibly in preparation for a more detailed, more complete portrait. And these are a lot of fun. So we just try to see what we can do in 30 minutes, prioritize our time, and then my goal for myself, and I hope for you as well, is as we work on these together, we'll be able to get more efficient in our painting process. We'll be able to see what's important, render those parts first, and then with the time we have left, we'll add some nuances and shading. When we work on our more complete portraits where we have more time, it's my hope then that you'll be able to, just like myself, have those practices, those skills built up in being very efficient, and we'll just be able to do our portraits quicker without sacrificing any quality. So let's have fun with this. And I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this video today. So I want to give you a free gift. If you go to my website, realisticacrylic.com, I have a downloadable guide that'll help you with your skin tones. And skin tones are one of the things that artists struggle with the most. And this particular guide is called Fix Muddy Skin Tones in Your Acrylic Portrait. You can get that at realisticacrylic.com /fix-muddy-acrylic-skin tones. And I'll have the link for you in the description of this video and then also in the top comments as well. So enjoy. You'll be able to use that to really get your skin tones dialed in, get some color mixtures more accurate. My gift to you. So anyway, let's dive in here with a word of prayer and we'll get started. Father, I ask a blessing on this 30-minute acrylic portrait session. Help me to be able to paint this portrait of this young lady well, to be able to capture her likeness, the shading, the nuances, the skin tone, as much as I can get within 30 minutes. Bless the students watching. I pray this video would be beneficial to them and they'd be able to use these techniques in their portraits and just try something like this and enjoy the process. So Lord, bless them, keep them in good health. And I ask a blessing on this 30-minute session in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so I have a timer to keep me on track, and just to show you this is real time, I'm not cutting and editing the video out. So I'm going to set this for 30 minutes, and we're going to get started. I have my usual palette here and just a nice assortment of brushes, and one of the first things I like to do is just start by blocking in the overall sense of the composition. So we're going to use a round brush for that. And we just want to basically get in the forms of her face. So I'm going to use some raw umber dark, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and some matte medium to thin it out, make it more fluid. And we're just going to kind of block in the forms of her face here. Okay, so this is intentionally thinned down with matte medium just so it's a little light and I can kind of pivot if I make any mistakes, and that's just part of the process. Okay, so we're going to make a few decisions here and just try to overall get the sense of the composition and where, you know, like her ear is going to be, where the hair is going to be. So this is kind of a close-up image, and so with that we're going to be cropping off part of her forehead in this. We're going to get the hair in here and the jawline. And we just kind of the overall sense of her hairline. Block that in. And then we get the outside edge of her hair as well. And we want to get the shape of her chin and her jawline in here, establish that. There's a nice angle to her face. That's important to get the angle. It's one of the things I've seen artists struggle with is they tend to line things up straight with the top and bottom of the canvas. So you don't want to make that mistake. You want to get things nice and angled. And this is an 8x10 an 8x10 acrylic on hardboard panel. So it works really well. Now we're getting in the collar of her shirt. We'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better what's happening here. Okay, so now we want to, I think at this stage, since everything is pretty large on here and the lighting is even, I'm gonna block in the skin tones. Let's see, we'll use this flat brush for that. And I've got some titanium matte. It's kind of a tan color. It works really well for the initial flesh tones. We'll add some white to it just to lighten it up a bit. And then a little bit of raw sienna. And maybe just a bit of pyrrole orange. We just want to add a little bit of that to the mix. And then a little more raw sienna. Get just a nice base coat for the flesh tone. And I'm just going to fold this flesh tone up to my Kindle and just get a sense for how that matches. And I think that works pretty well. So we'll stick with that. I'll just zoom it out just a bit so you can see the bottom edge and know where I'm at here. Okay, we're going to block this in now. Just fill this in as a nice base coat. In every portrait you kind of do a little bit of a different process with it. I'm going to have to mix up just a bit more of this. And I'm going to spray my palette just so I keep it nice and fluid. Okay, I'll just kind of mix this all together. And again, this will still be a nice base coat, I think, to work out of. Add a little more white to it, and just a bit more pyrrole orange, and just a touch of Indian yellow. Well, that should give us a nice thick layer that'll cover everything really well. All right. So with this, we'll let this dry. We'll come back and start doing the facial features. But because it's such a large area and the lighting is pretty even throughout, I'm taking a different approach here and seeing how that works. Now I just want to smooth this out using some long, mostly vertical brush strokes that go with the direction of the canvas orientation. Okay, we get a little bit of the cheek in there, and now we'll let that dry out and we'll start working on her hair. I'm just going to rinse this brush off quick. And we'll work on her hair. Block that in with some raw umber dark and ivory black. A little bit of ultramarine blue. And then just a bit of raw sienna and alizarin crimson to make a really nice blackish color. Maybe just a bit of burnt sienna as well. Take just a little bit of that lighter flesh tone and put that in. And we'll just block this in here now on her hair. So that's going to frame her face. And And that cuts up around the edge of her neck. Maybe just fill that in. Those ears probably could come down a bit more, I see, so we'll leave a little room for that. Okay, and we'll get the hair going up. Fill that in. Just using some light, choppy brush strokes here. And then we'll bring it down on the other side. Now she's looking at a 3/4 angle, so there'll be less visible hair on the other side. And she has a little bit of a jacket that we can see there as well. We're just going to use this overall to get the sense of the dimensions of her face. And her face is a little bit rounder. I do want to try to imply that. Alright, now with that, go to the smaller filbert, and I just want to block in the shape of her ears a little bit more. I think I missed that. We're going to come down just a bit more. Maybe about like that. We have that jawline. Okay, now pretty soon here what we want to do is get some transitional hues with burnt sienna on top of the flesh tones. Just mix that in, and that's going to give us kind of a bridge between the hair and her forehead. So it's good to get those warmer hues to really separate the hair, give it a sense of depth and shading, because it's going to cast a shadow on the skin tones, and this helps to just convey that look just by using burnt sienna mixed in with your skin tone. And then we're going to start blocking in some of the facial features. And I'm just going to use the same color here because I think that'll work well. It's a little bit lighter. We just want to make some decisions as far as, you know, where her eyes are going to go and her eyebrows. We're just going to kind of sculpt in part of the shading around the eyes, and this would be showing that dimensionality of her skull, structure beneath the skin. And then her nose here, we'll block that in, just a nice shape for that. And then kind of the curvature of her cheeks a little bit. And just a semblance of her mouth. Now I'm holding my brush towards the tip. It gives me a little of a bit of a looser feel as I'm rendering this. So just something to keep in mind. I'm holding it more toward the tip. And I do want this just to be a little bit looser right now. You got the sense of her neck here, put down something for that. And I do think her chin could be just a little bit longer, so I want to give that a bit more room. All right, and so now with that, we can start dialing in a little further. And we're going to take a different round brush here. Keep this paint nice and fluid. Just spray that a little bit. And then we're going to add a little bit of this raw umber dark to the hair mix with some burnt sienna, and just kind of tie them together with the addition of a bit of pyro orange and raw sienna. And we're going to start kind of blocking in some of the eyebrows a little bit. So we want to just block that in. And block in a little bit of her eyes and eyelashes as well. Wipe off my brush, and we're going to get a little bit of a warmer color as we get toward that right hand side. So we just use that to block in the eyebrows because they actually have a warmer hue, and we can show that there's kind of a sense of the sparseness of the hair by using that warmer color. Now we use a little bit of the pyro orange on the bottom of the nose and just kind of block that in, along with a little bit of the cheek color. I'm going to establish that, and then get a little bit of the dimensions under the eye as well. now we'll use a little bit of Pyro Orange for that shape of her lip. Pyro Orange and a little bit of titanium matte with some titanium white. And a touch of Indian yellow. And we just want to block that in, block in the lip shape. Come down a little bit more. Let's just add a bit of alizarin crimson to that, shall we? And we'll just darken this in. Bring this down a bit further. And just block in that color of her lips. Okay. Now we're going to get in some of the white of her teeth. Add just a little bit of raw sienna to some titanium white. And we'll just put that in to begin the shape of her teeth. Just begin the shape of her teeth. And now let's add a little bit of the pinkish color to her cheeks. And just block that in ever so slightly. All right, good. Now let's take our flat brush. And we're going to mix some of this raw umber dark and this darker skin tone, and we're going to develop a sense of the shadow under the chin. We really need to develop that jawline, so let's do that. All right, and we want to get a little bit more of the skin tones on the side. Some of that reddish color of the ear, that should be a little darker. Get in a little bit of the shading around her nose, just kind of sculpt that in. And a little bit of shading under her lip. We'll add some shading to the other side of her jawline and just kind of develop that a little bit. Now let's go ahead and add some detail to her eyes. I'm going to take this raw umber dark and just pop in a little bit of that eye shape in there. And then we're going to also use the same color to get the outside edges of her mouth. Just darken that a little bit. And we're also going to darken this cheek area as well. And a little bit of that pinkish tint for her cheeks. All right, just blend this nose color a little bit. And now I want to darken under her chin a little bit more. We're going to use this darker kind of raw umber dark hue. Switch to my filbert brush for this. And then we'll block in with her hair and just try to sculpt that form a bit. All right, blend that a little bit as well. A little bit of a darker color on the brush. Now let's switch to a different round brush. I have to find one that's going to work a little better for me here. And we'll try this one right here. A darker color to show the eyelashes. And now we'll get a little bit of the coloring for her nostrils. And let's get a little bit of the shading for the underside of her lip. That should be a bit darker. Now we need a gap under her teeth, like just to show the underside of her mouth. Now we'll put in a little bit more of a darker color for her lip. A little more of the lip color. And let's darken the eyebrows just a bit. And we'll put in some shading on her ears just to show those darker forms. All right, having a little fun with this one. This one's getting a little abstract here. All right, we'll add a little bit of titanium white, some Indian yellow, and some pyro orange. And we'll just kind of lighten up this left side of her cheek and neck area. Now let's add some titanium white, Indian yellow, get a few highlights for her flesh tones here. A little bit of pyro orange. Just pop that in on her forehead. Give it a little more dimension. I'll put in some shading on her cheek. That'll help bring out the dimensions a bit. All right, so we have a little bit of a lighter look on the forehead. That's better. Add a bit of a darker flesh tone to that to kind of blend it in a little bit. We got a little bit of a lighter color on her chin. And we'll go with a bit lighter yet. Just to show some more dimension on the face. So the lighter we go, we got to add a little more pyro orange to make this work. Okay. Now let's use even some more titanium white with a little bit of pyro orange and some Indian yellow. We'll just add that to her forehead. All right, let's see if we can refine her eyes just a little bit here. Go into these other mixes and try to cut in where the shape got a little bit away from me. And I'm going to also try to get in some of the shadows around her nose area a little bit better. And the nasolabial fold's a little bit stronger too. There we go. We'll try to also get in some shading below her neck. Use a little bit of Indian yellow and some raw umber dark. We'll just add it to these other mixes that we've got. Color can be a little bit different. Okay, let's just make that a little bit darker. And I'll add a darker area yet under her chin. Try to get that shadow shape sculpted a bit more. All right, we'll blend this in here a bit. Now let's use some raw umber dark and a little bit of ivory black, and we'll just kind of sculpt in her hair a little bit more here. Get some darker parts to her hair on the side. Fill in that hair a little bit more here. Some of it come off on the side a bit. We've got a darker bit of shading on the right hand side. And then we will add a little bit of a lighter rim up here. So take some pyro orange and some raw umber dark. And just go over and see if we can get a little bit of her eyelid in, and then some extra detail on her eyebrows. Now let's get a little bit of extra detail right around her smile. Try to get these areas for her mouth defined a bit more. Some titanium white and a little bit of raw sienna. And we'll just add a bit of shading here on her teeth. Try to develop that a bit more. Just develop the shape of her teeth a little bit more there. And the gum line. Okay, we'll see what else we can get done in the just a couple of minutes we have left. Darken her nostrils. There's a bit of a shadow under the nose that I really haven't done yet. We'll try to get that going in there. And we'll just blend a little bit around her eyes. And the shape of her chin just a bit more, try to sculpt that. It's a nice warm tone I'd like to put in there. This area around the edge is just a little bit dark. This needs to be a little lighter. And we've got this dark rim for her shirt. We'll just get that in to get a little separation there. And we'll pop in just a little bit of kind of a tan color for her jacket. We do need to add a little bit of raw amber dark and some titanium white just to tone that color down. Okay, try to get a little bit more of the lip color dialed in here with some titanium white, pyro orange. Rescue that a little bit. Add some titanium white to the top. And let's see if we can get a little bit of alizarin crimson in here in the bottom. And just darken the bottom edge of the top part of the lip. And we'll try to get a little bit of the shape of her tear duct in there. I know that's not quite right. All right, we're going to blend this out a little bit on the top of her eyebrows. All right, I think I'm going to stop off here as the timer has expired. And this is what we have. All right, this is what we have. Let's just bring this timer to a stop there. Get that to stop ticking. Okay, well, this is what we've got for this portrait here for a half an hour. And I have to say that it turned out better than I expected while I was about halfway through the process, or even 20 minutes into the process. There is some semblance of skin tone and the value structure, her smile coming out through it, and there's many things unresolved. But I do like how, you know, we have a little bit of the lighting structure on her cheeks and the coloring of the lips coming out, and a little bit of the sense of her eyebrow shape and eyes coming out. But is definitely far from accurate. And just to be honest with you, I really struggled with this portrait. I mean, in the middle of the process, I almost felt like giving up and just I was laughing at myself because the stakes aren't that high. I mean, this is not a commission portrait, where I've invested hours and hours into it. But about halfway through the process and seeing the paint just kind of globbing on and not doing what I wanted it to do. And I think part of the problem was I sprayed the initial skin tone to keep it workable, and that was a bad idea because it actually made it really difficult to add anything else to it, because it was messing with the colors that I was applying. But like I said, I was thinking of just kind of wiping it and smearing it all up and saying, forget it. But I thought, you know what, I should stick with this here and just persevere, because if I had just taken it and just smeared it all up, well, then I would have just had a smear. I would have had nothing. And now I have a portrait that, yes, there's obviously some issues with the likeness and the shading, but I could actually literally take this portrait as it is, and I could invest another half an hour, another hour, another couple of hours, and I could tighten it up and refine it more, and I could actually make it look pretty good. So the thing is you never know unless you try. And if you just take a canvas that's not working out and you whitewash it, or you throw it in your closet or whatever, just smear it all up, you're not going to know what you could have accomplished with it. And I think even though with this painting I'm not super happy with the results, I've had some of these 30-minute acrylic portraits that worked a lot better than this one. I'm glad that I persevered. And actually doing a portrait like this, interestingly, kind of almost makes me feel like a beginning artist again. And I normally do my paintings with the glazing technique where I sketch it out. I take a long time. I'm very methodical and applying many light layers. I feel in control of the process all the time. With this one, I actually felt like I was fighting the paint a little bit, and that's probably good. It's good for me to feel that way and identify with other artists that might be feeling similar about their paintings. And not only that, but I think this is going to make me into a better artist, because the more I do these, the better and more efficient I'll get with the 30-minute process. And I think I'll be able to use that into my other paintings as well. So this is what I have. I almost thought, I'm not going to show this one. I'm not going to upload this video, but I think I will. And if you're watching this, I did decide to upload it just to show you that I don't always get it right all the time. I definitely make my share of mistakes. But there's really, like Bob Ross said, there's no mistakes, there's just happy accidents. And, we just enjoy the process and we learn from our mistakes. I mean, we do make mistakes in art and in life, but we learn from the process and we get better at it, and those mistakes can be forgiven both in art and in life. So I hope, even though this didn't turn out as well as I'd liked, I hope you enjoyed the process. And again, you can do something like this in your own portrait painting discipline, in your own studio practice, because the stakes are not that high. You can always, after you finish a painting, if you don't feel like having stacks of canvas boards around, you can always choose to whitewash over it after it's finished. But I would at least encourage you to stick it out till the end and finish your painting, within the 30 minutes. See what you can do. And you might like it enough that you would decide to work more on it and put in another half an hour, and just, finish the painting. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching this video. God bless you in your portrait painting. And again, visit my website, realisticacrylic.com, for tips, tutorials, videos, and of course the free guide on fixing muddy skin tones in your acrylic portrait. Even though we have a little bit of some muddy skin tones here, that guide will show you what to do when you can take some more time and add more layers. I'll show you how to resolve things in your paintings, especially in regards to skin tones. All right, so that's in the description of this video and in the top comment as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.